Welcome to NTR Radio. I'm Tom Force Nubis.
I'm K Gods.
And I'm VZ Mark II.
George! We're here again. I should mention that I'm going to go ahead and throw something out here. Between this episode and the last one, I had a birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday. That's birthday with an S, with an F, by the way. BIRFDAY, birthday.
Yes, you've got me doing that too. And yeah. Anyway, not really anything to get too excited about. Again, the lockdown has made it to be less fun. You know, no large gatherings or any of that kind of shit. So it really was sort of just kind of like eat a cake that day. And that's the only thing that was different about it. That kind of shit. Not fun. But speaking of birthdays, today is Hung Like a Zombie's birthday.
Yo!
So that's my shout out. Have a good one, brother. For those out there, he's not actually my blood brother. that just a phrasing there. We're not related. But a lot of people have them in September. A lot of September babies out there.
Yep.
Probably conceived on Christmas Eve, or New Year's Eve, or some shit like that.
See, I'm the weird guy that has the birthday in the early of the year.
Yeah. So like hot, sweaty June evenings or something. I don't know. I don't like where that's going. So, how is everybody?
Okay.
I'd like to say I'm okay, but I'm not. I've been having some problems. A lot of really serious fucking anxiety problems. They're not about something specific. Mostly it's just genetic. I'm trying to do stuff to try to get it down. I'm not sure why it's flaring up right now.
I'm trying to get used to, although I think I've just about gotten handle of my new my glasses prescription, because
there's always an adjustment here. Yeah,
well, for a long time it was the same, more or less, but there was a big difference, which I don't want to get too into in the actual show. It. Yeah, but
but anything involving like eyewear always has an adjustment period.
Well, the one lens is very different. In fact, that had to get like special to make it thinner, so that way it but it's still thicker than the other side.
Yeah, well, mine are like that too, because I have an astigmatism.
Yeah. And also curved at the edge.
Yeah.
So if I, let's say I close my one eye and look on the other, it's like at the edge, it like warps. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I was going to say it's like more fun on roller coasters, I guess. Probably not.
No, let me tell you, the first day was kind of hard to...
Were you doing the thing like where you try to turn a corner and you like do it too soon or something, and like your perception's off?
No,
my dad did that once when he was drunk.
No, it was kind of like double image. It was hard to get the two.
Okay, yeah. It's like that... What God, what is it? Isn't it Foreigner who wrote that song? Double Vision? They used to have commercials for it all the time.
I know the song you're talking about.
Yeah, it's an 80s tune, I believe. It could be 70s. I think it's 80s though.
So,
because they go back that far. Anyway,
here's how to get involved with the show. Live. If you're listening live, hit yourself up on ntrradio.net and click on the chat link and give yourself a nickname on that page. Hit the button, join us in the IRC channel. Alternatively, you can take your favorite IRC client, put it at irc@horizon.net, and join us in the # SLC media channel. In addition, you can get at us on Twitter at @CAnubis, at VZMK2, at NTR_radio, and as always, the email address to get involved with the show is ntrradio@gmail.com. So, VZ, I know you've been watching stuff.
Yeah. So this season, you know what? I know it's been like a sort of like a lot of people's decisive as like love it or hate it, Zaki-chan. I'm just finding it kind of a show. where it's not really doing a lot. I mean, I'm going to finish it up because I'm already at one more episode, but it's not very well animated for one, and I don't know. It's just I've seen the stuff before done better.
And as we all know, if you're doing a thing surrounded by a character with large knockers, they need to be well animated.
Yeah.
That's just the rules.
I'm actually finding Rent a Girlfriend more intriguing.
I thought that was the one that was making you psychotic earlier.
It was. Don't get me wrong. It's still kind of, although it's the main guy and the first two girls, but the other two girls are much better. Yeah, the main guy's insufferable, and so is the main girl. But the other two girls are much better. And then what's the other one I'm watching? Diary of Our Days at the Breakwater. I'm really liking one more episode of that. Everything's ending next week, so not this show, but next. I think next one we'll do a upcoming season review.
Sounds like a good call.
Yeah, because there's a lot next season. Let me tell you, there's something for everyone. I think, or at least for us. I think there's something for everyone that we'll all enjoy. Certainly me. I tried watching a Blu-ray rip of this show from 1985 called Toba Kage.
Okay.
Which is that's the show I told you that was apparently on Cartoon Network in 1995, called the very creatively named Ninja Robots.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say it wasn't called that. I don't remember that.
But the subs for like the other episodes that weren't working. But here's the thing: just as I'm not gonna be able to watch this. Discotek licensed it for Blu-ray, so I will get that eventually sometime but when it comes out like next year.
Yeah, they licensed a whole bunch of stuff.
I'm gonna check that out. I do want to get their Blu-ray release of Dan Kruger, even though doesn't have the movie OVA. But I actually figured out why that's not on there. It's not that. I mean, I could always watch it just like on my encode rip. But I actually figured out why that's not on there. Because it's in a different aspect ratio. The series and other OVAs are all like 4:3. Because it's an old, old TV.
SD.
But the one called God Bless Dan Kruger was in like letterbox
form.
Right. Well, it's like trying to explain to somebody that the original Dragon Ball Z was 4:3.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. No, they literally cut the top and bottom.
Yeah, I mean, like when they moved it to 16:9, it looks like shit.
Because Funimation likes to pretend that Dragon Ball's this brand new thing, and they oversaturate the fuck.
We're gonna talk about Funimation pretending later on in this episode.
I hear has a problem with that too is Disney movies. Like if you want to get any old Disney movie, they do that. They overfilter the grain.
That just doesn't sound like them though. I mean, you know what I mean? They always seem to be a bit more, I don't know. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm not an expert on that, so.
Yeah, but some of these big companies try to make it you think that they want to keep their movies like you thinking that they're brand new and not like these things that's like, dude, these things are like decades old. They're gonna have grain and these old media properties.
Yeah, and then you get these fucking people that think it's like a computer you upgrade. You know what I mean? By putting like a new video card or something in there.
Oh yeah, well it's like so like from time to time, Discotek will talk about their restoration processes. And it's interesting stuff, but you realize that, this thing isn't that simple. There's actually on some level, it's on some level it's highly technical, on some level it's highly creative. That they need to create. They need to be creative in how they solve these problems when they're restoring an anime.
Yeah, apparently they're gonna do a Blu-ray release for Project Echo.
Yep.
And they're gonna have to like do some sort of weird implementation of the original.
I saw that.
Yeah.
It's based on the Laserdisc, isn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
Because the original masters were lost or something like that. Yeah, the masters have been lost to time. I'm looking at the tweet right now.
Yeah, that's a lot of like that's just a lot of old anime in Japan that you just gotta sort of which is why there's some of these like OVAs that are just like lost to time that just never got any, not even to like they never reached to DVD level.
Right. They never got to that format even. Right. So yeah, you'll end up seeing some Hong Kong bootleg VHS crap floating around.
Well, more like again, the best that you could have hoped for is like on a laser disc.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some like stuff like that never even got to that. That's like only like VHS. Or even beta, because yes, anime was released in beta over. Yeah. There was a weird
like that one episode of Kanagi.
Yeah. What's funny is there was this thing that I actually liked. To be fair, when he talked about technical stuff like this, I'll give him credit. But Justin Savakis did a thing about there was a thing in the 80s called the VHD, which was basically it was like similar. It was kind of like a laser disc almost, but it was more like it was basically like a big plastic thing that had a big sheet in it, and you stick the plastic thing, and the machine would take the sheet inside.
Okay.
It's about the size of a laser disc. It's like you stick the big plastic thing, and it takes like the sheet thing or the disc thing inside, and so you're left with like the empty, because that's what it reads.
Right.
Anyway, what was interesting was there was two anime made for that because it was able to do 3D. It was able to do like you would put on like 3D glasses.
Oh, okay, that kind of 3D.
Yeah. One of them was this thing that Sunrise made called Dead Heat.
That just screams 80s action movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was it was this thing where you watch and it's not very interesting, but then it's like the context. Oh, if this was in 3D, this would probably be more interesting.
Mm-hmm. And what's the other?
Scoopers. Which is another like OVA that never went past.
Scoopers. It's just a video of somebody scooping up dog shit.
Yeah.
And they rotoscope it.
Yeah. Well, Scoopers was one of those that was on the. Everybody should watch this once. I'm sure it's on YouTube. The Gaga Communications reel, which was this thing that before the U.S. companies were licensed anime for the market in the very, very late 80s. Japan itself was actually trying to bring out the anime itself.
Mm-hmm.
But the hilarious thing was it was these like OVAs, a lot of them familiar to us, like Project Echo and Bubblegum Crisis and MD Guys, but they gave them these weird nude names.
Like, as if some of their names weren't weird to begin with.
Right.
Yeah, well, Bubblegum Crisis was renamed like Futurescape. Project Echo was like Supernova. MD Geist was Thunder Soldier. And there was this guy, like, it was an English, speaking guy, like, trying to sell you these things that, but some of the stuff on there was stuff that never came out, even in the West at all. Like, and again, Scoopers was one of them. It's really, it's really interesting. I love, what's in Crystal Triangle was on there. on that demo reel, which is like basically, what if there was an anime Indiana Jones, and they meet God, and God is a little space alien grub. Oh, and dies. Spoilers. Oh, and it also involves the America and the KGB, because it was the 80s.
Yep, Cold War.
Yeah, trying to fight for this alien spaceship. In Japan. Yeah. In Japan, because, it's got to be in Japan, because it's got to...
Well, yeah, KGB, or as I like to say, keeps getting better.
Huh.
And then the hilarious... It's actually one of those things that sounds better than it actually is. But it was like one of those things like... because it involves the planet Nemesis, which is an actual thing that was...
Okay, is it just me, or does that show up in a lot of media? A planet called Nemesis.
Yeah, it's just like theory, more like a crackpot. It's like this crackpot theory that there's like a dark star...
A brown dwarf outside of the Kuiper Belt.
Yeah, that basically...
Right. I get that, but is it just me, or does that just even the name show up a lot?
Oh yeah,
especially in science fiction in general.
Oh, absolutely.
And yeah, and then in this one, was basically God's message was like, all the countries need to get along to use their nuclear weapons to destroy Nemesis.
See, like that's ridiculous. I think it would have been more believable if it's like everybody just needs to chill out and drink some Mountain Dew. Buy some of those what the fuck are they called? Square watermelons. Invest in pachinko parlors.
But in the meantime, I have started reading the Quest of the Stars novels that I picked up a while ago.
Okay.
And there's something very interesting I want to point out. Because right after the table of contents, they have a few pages of translator's notes.
Okay.
Because, like, Quest of the Stars and Banner of the Stars, that entire saga, that entire world has a lot of world building in it, and has to the point where one of the races has their own language, and it needs to be explained how that language is pronounced because it's not pronounced how it looks.
Okay, so like Chinese.
So yeah. So naturally it's going to take some endeavor to translate it, and as a result we have some translator's notes. But what I want to point out is this section right here, main translation policies. And this is something I think that, quite frankly, I think that every anime translation, any translation of otaku media should follow these policies. Number 1, accuracy. As little information omitted as possible. Number 2, legibility. Where the original text is changed, it's to make the reading experience smoother while observing the sentiment and spirit of the source. And number 3, accessibility. No confusion as to what is meant, and no need to constantly consult the glossary in the back. There is also a language overview primer included for the curious. And so my question is, why is it so hard for this to be the standard?
Because too many people are trying to
shit, and don't change the original text except where it's fundamentally difficult to read, difficult to make out.
Change these things that are problematic to us, and we can't have lowly titties in this anime that we're releasing, so we gotta
Oh well, again, we'll be talking about Funimation later on this episode.
Mm-hmm.
But so I that's my only thing, and that's my only detail that I've got so far from the Quest of the Star novel is why is it so hard?
Who put those out?
This is J Novel Club.
Okay. I wasn't sure, so I just figured I'd ask.
So yeah, right now, J Novel Club has got my consumer goodwill.
Well, there you go.
I wonder about in a similar notion, because I remember they announced it. I haven't heard anything of when it's coming out, but the manga for Uzaki Maid.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Uzame.
not Uzaki. Uzame, that's it. Yeah, thank you for correcting me. The manga for that got licensed here, which is surprising because that one's actually more, like let's say more ecchi than the anime was.
Licensed by Kaiten Books.
I wonder if how that's going to be dealt with, especially with current things and such, and all this like things being censored and such.
I would hope that Kaiten Books knows what they're getting into, but I haven't read a whole and even looking at their catalog right now, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 titles. Uzame being one of them.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's not like Yen Presser's Seven Seas, which are kind of the majority of any manga that I buy these days, which isn't a lot. It's usually from one of those two.
Yeah, I mean, Seven Seas put out the Monster Girl encyclopedias, so
yeah.
So they clearly don't shy away from porn.
As for myself, not really a whole lot. Been kind of dealing with some other shit that's not really had me very in the mood for anime and stuff. Unfortunately, just been kind of a rough month. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Not because of anything specific.
That's fine.
At least that I can think of, but. Anyway,
we do have some news, so let's news.
Let's news. Working to restore power.
Would you believe it if I told you that Funimation is fucking up yet again?
Perish the thought.
So, and to be clear, right out of the gate, we don't actually know if this is Funimation's fault or not, but they sure have done anything at all to garner consumer goodwill and
benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, and can encourage people to give them the benefit of the doubt. So this is going out in the IRC right now. We're looking at the newsletter from Robert's Anime Corner Store. And the first item after the corner store updates heading, store news and tab clearing, reads as thus: in a very disappointing move, Funimation confirmed for this week that their release of Azure Lane, which they rated TV-14 rather than TVMA, will be censored. I'm not sure what the point of an edited physical release of an anime is, but if they think it will help the title get more market penetration by allowing it to be consumed by a younger audience, maybe they should rethink the business they're in.
And just as an update, this also explains that Critical Mass has interspecies reviewers.
Yes, that's the case as well. So, what we know is that the Azure Lane physical release that Funimation's putting out will be censored. What we don't know is why. What we also know, however, is that Funimation hasn't been doing themselves any favors.
No.
And if people get on them for this, they really have no one to blame but themselves. Number one, because they've burned all their consumer goodwill, and number two, because at least as far as Robert's Anime Corner Store goes, they haven't been forthcoming with the reason why that's happened.
Yeah, so I mean, this is by far not the first time they've been fucking around.
No.
I mean, if you've paid any attention to our podcast at all, you've heard us talk about numerous questionable things and just outright outlandish stuff they've pulled off.
And so part of the thing is, and I talked about this on Twitter the other day, is there's something called the appearance of impropriety, which is, okay, it's like, don't have a conflict of interest, but don't also have something that appears to be a conflict of interest, because it looks the same from the outside looking in either way.
I was just about to say, because, well, yeah, I mean, even if it appears that way, the same effect is generated.
Yeah, if it appears that way, they're going to assume it is, whether or not it actually is that. So
pretty much.
So it's imperative, if you're running a company, that you earn the benefit of the doubt. So if Funimation had been, okay, well, if they've been for the last few years, we have a very adamant stance that we're gonna bring over the anime as it exists in Japan, as it's supposed to be released in Japan, the full anime. No, nothing that we're doing to it, nothing that anyone else is doing to it, the full anime. And they did that for years, and now in 2020, suddenly the Azure Lane thing is happening.
It just feels
it would be like, whoa, what happened? This can't possibly be Funimation's fault, because they've been on an anti-censorship full release, we're making a product that people want to buy kick for the past several years. But what happens for the past several years is that they've been on we're going to do whatever we want to any title we have, and fuck you kick.
Yeah, including people that work there acting like asses about it.
Oh yeah, that's the "and fuck you" part.
Yeah, that's basically the big middle finger after the verbal.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, we're
gonna the exclamation point at the end.
We're gonna do whatever we want, and go fuck yourself if you don't like it. Which is a clever strategy, a bold strategy. I don't know it's gonna work out for them.
It's like, let's see how it plays out for them, Cotton.
But that's been their frame for the past. When did the prison school thing happen? Like 5 years ago?
I don't remember. It was a little while ago, though.
I think that was like 2015, 2016. Yeah, 2015.
Yeah,
it's somewhere around there. So
for the past 5 years, Funimation's been on a go fuck yourself kick. I'm not motivated to defend Funimation if this ends up being not their fault, because number one, they probably should, if it's not their fault, they should have told people that it's not their fault. They should have been very explicit that, listen, this is what's going to happen. It's a contractual obligation from the people who licensed it to us, or it's this or it's that, but it's not something that we decided to do. But instead, they decided for 5 years to basically let the people who work for them tell their potential customers, their former customers, to go fuck themselves for half a decade.
Aren't they? Well, what happens if you ask Funimation? What the reason? Would they give a statement or not?
Would probably say no.
So people have tried to get Funimation to put out a statement on the prison school thing, on the Maid Dragon thing, on the.
You get people that run interference for them, and they basically just give you the finger.
Well, what happens is the statement we get is, well, we understand that.
We're sorry you're upset.
It's like, well, we understand that there's anime fans, or I wish I could find this quote because it was from the way back after the fucking Maid Dragon thing happened, and they put out this bleeding heart statement on Twitter that basically amounted to please stop harassing our voice actors, saying nothing of the changes they made to some shit they didn't make, saying nothing of the reasons people are pissed off about at their product. It came down to some people are harassing our voice actors, so we're gonna close ranks around them. And
I think that just pissed more people off.
of course it did, because it's not addressing people's actual grievances.
Pretty much.
So sure, we can ask Funimation for a statement. They're not gonna fucking give us one.
Not anytime soon.
They've never made a habit of doing that. The only time they've made a habit of making statements is when their people are getting hate mobbed, whether it's people out here clapping back at voice actors out here with sitting in relative positions of influence out here clapping back at people for being upset that they fucked around with a product, or whether it's Funimation's own staff members getting hate mobbed by people who I would wager don't buy Funimation products quite as much as other people, but they're on an identity kick. So they got mad about the Fujoshi Life thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it came for Funimation to make a statement about that, they said, oh, well, they had a decision whether they were going to stand by their staff members who had made all those very fun Fujoshi Life things for their marketing campaign.
What was the controversy of that again? Remind me again.
So what Funimation did was they put out a marketing campaign for the Sekaiichi Hatsukoi Blu-ray release. I believe it was the Blu-ray release. And basically they had a bunch of their staff members anonymously talking about their funny Fujoshi experiences. They're like quirky, awkward, kind of cringe, but we can relate to it. Fujoshi experiences, being young anime fans, and people on Twitter, because they're people on Twitter, got up in arms and about how it was.
People that are very on Twitter, as you like to say.
People who are extremely on Twitter got up in arms about how it was quote unquote fetishizing gay relationships. And so what Funimation did was, instead of standing behind the people who work for them, instead of, standing up for them, instead of running interference running interference against all these people who were going after these people for unjustifiable reasons, decided to cancel the marketing campaign and put out a statement about how sorry they are that they ran that marketing campaign.
Yeah.
It really was just like a couple of whiny people that they decided to try to assuage.
I think I know how we could gauge if this is not necessarily a one-time thing, but a sort of between what's going on with Azur Lane, because I think they had the show for the show Doku Hentai HX Arrows.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have that one too, which is basically one of those shows where it's like, wait for the Blu-ray. Well, I wonder if, Funimation's releasing that superheroes, yeah. I wonder if, I'm totally wrong. That's an Aniplex of America show. Because I was going to say, if Funimation would release that unedited or not.
Well, part of the point I'm making,
you know what it is? Funimation streams it It
Right.
screens the censored.
Well, so part of the point I'm making, though, is that it kind of doesn't matter. They've lost their consumer goodwill. Any misstep Funimation has, whether or not it's their fault, is people are going to assume it's their fault because they've decided to burn all their bridges with specifically people who habitually spend hundreds of dollars on cute anime girl shit. Which is that's an odd strategy when you're in the anime market, but Funimation obviously has
Other ideas.
Has other ideas, and I'm not certain it's gonna work out for them.
The thing about ideas is that they're not always good and they're not always smart. But they are ideas.
I mean, I don't know, I'm just the business guy. If I was in a market where you've got a sector of people who habitually spends hundreds of dollars on cute anime girl shit, I'll be tumbling down the fucking hill to cater to those people. So what do I need to do to get you to give me money? What do I need to do? Do I have to go for fucking start making these anime girl shits out of PVC? Tell me, what do I need to do? Listen, I got the Blu-ray. It's the complete anime. It's all the thing. Here's a fucking art book. Here's some fucking postcards. Here's some pogs and shit. What do I need to do?
Fucking pogs. Okay, is it just me?
Understand how ridiculous this is. The Amagi Brilliant Park has a fucking board game in it. Like, why?
No. Okay. Here's something that I'm honestly very curious about this. Okay, was it just me, or did every nerd ever have a Pog moment, like where they were interested for like a summer or something?
I spent about 18 seconds in Pogs. Oh, this is just pressed cardboard. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what I felt too.
But
yeah, I mean, because like when I was in like grade school,
stand by. Let me go get this shit. This is ridiculous. Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay, yeah, there was one summer I think it was my cousin's influence more than anything else, that he kind of got me into the Pog thing. And we were, again, this was before I was even in anime or anything like that. This was, holy fuck, I mean, I don't even know how old I was. I was like 10 or something. I don't know. Maybe not even that. But yeah, you used to. I don't know if you ever played where you hit with the slammers and whatever it lands face up or whatever. You get to.
Yeah, no, I've seen how it's done.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you had any idea what I was even talking about.
All right, so imagine being the person at Sentai Filmworks, and you have the Amagi Brilliant Park license, and you know that there are a whole bunch of fucking nerds out here who will fall all over themselves to spend hundreds of dollars on cute anime girl shit. So you decide, whoa, shit. We need to get on this shit. Like, please help me out.
We got a great question.
What do we fucking do to appeal to you people? We got the fucking Amagi Brilliant Park Guidebook Volume 4. I'm on Volume 5, Volume 6. SP? What? I don't even know what the fuck that means. We got
Shout
the
out to
fucking
SP.
card. Shout out to SP. We got the fucking paper board game.
Burgermeister's in the
Yeah.
says,
They got a question. I'm gonna field it.
I'm with you on that, but give me a second because I'm upset. We got the fucking we got like 18 sticker
He's
cards.
upset, yeah.
Like, and all I'm saying is, listen, if you're in the anime space and you're not just falling all the fuck over yourself to appeal to the people who habitually spend hundreds of dollars, like, there's so much shit, it's falling on the floor. Habitually spend hundreds of dollars on cute anime girl shit. I don't know what, like, and people are getting at the fucking Rob's Anime Corner Store guy for being for saying, "Oh, how unprofessional. He should really be speak more professionally if he runs a business." I don't know if Funimation understands the business they're in either. If this is their fault. Oh, you. So let's say Funimation is. Let's say this is Funimation's fault. Who do you this gets right to Burgermeister's question in the IRC. Who is the target demographic for censored Azure Lane?
I can tell you that.
Who?
The same people who want to see the censored version of oh fuck, what's it called now? I totally
Yusugu no Sora?
Yusugu no Sora. Thank you.
That one guy from my old anime club.
Yeah, the same person wants to see the censored version of Yusugu no Sora. Could not for the life of me think of the name.
But it's like,
well, it's interesting that because again,
and
I have
even if it's not their fault,
dog.
here's my thing.
Right.
If it's a stipulation by the license holder, Funimation should be empowered to say, listen, we can't release it like that. Nobody's going to buy it. Like, who? There's no way people are gonna buy an uncensored release of Azure Lane, the titties and small titties anime. Who out here is like that's like getting a fucking censored like that'd be like censored Kiss Sis. The Kiss Sis OVA is censored. Like there's no way that works. Nobody's going to buy that.
I have from them again, Valkyrie Drive, which is like the best possible release that they could do for that show because again, it's all uncensored and it has those little shorts also. So they had no problem with that one. And that's a far looter show than anything probably in Azure Lane.
And I mean, it seems like they really suddenly are on this kick where it's okay. Well, we suddenly have standards because we heard about Funimation standards right when the interspecies reviewers thing happened. It's like, whoa, okay, Funimation has standards apparently. So now, and now this is coming out. And again, I reiterate, maybe it's not Funimation's fault, but they need to actually come out and say that if it's not Funimation's fault. Though, speaking of nudity in anime, so we left off last episode mentioning how like the horny aspect is one massive thing that sets otaku apart from other nerds, and that we could probably do a whole topic on that. So we're going to do a whole topic on that.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever been to even a con, you'll see them in action. Oh, hopefully not.
Hopefully not. But it's like, so like...
Hey, if you went to A&N's parties, you did.
Oh, Jesus Christ, I shouldn't laugh. But so here's the thing. So here's the thing. I had mentioned this in the Iyashike server. Like over the course of the discussion a bit ago.
Okay, now you're good. Now you're good.
You ever hear you've been to the Hendane booth at the convention?
Oh yeah, and like I've said in previous things, it's like Lord of the Flies.
Well, it's like Lord of the Flies, but at the same time, it's like we all know why we're there.
Right. Like, although it is kind of entertaining when you see somebody that's clearly like trying not to be seen that they're there.
Oh, and it's like,
it's like guy or girl. Nobody cares.
Yeah, like being embarrassed there is a complete waste of your time.
I want to add something that before I forget. There's this weird notion between when I used to be on Toy Box DX, which again different from Collection DX. But there was this weird notion that it's like if maybe it has to go with nerd hierarchy thing, but it's like this thing that it's okay to be a nerd if you're into like mecha stuff, but if you're into like sexy anime girl stuff, that's like far lower. But that to them, it's
at the end of the day, you're still playing with toys.
Yeah, but in Japan, I see people, almost everyone that I follow does both. They're into both mecha stuff and anime.
Well, right,
stuff.
but these people don't like that aspect of that.
But to them, it was like a total like culture shock that someone that especially running to someone like me that's into both. So
again, it has very little to do with.
Actually it does, because it's sort of the sexy aspect of otaku them.
Well, I don't mean that. I wasn't going to say that. I think it's more along the lines of they have a problem with that kind of shit anyway. And so that informs why they don't like stuff like that.
I think part of it goes back to like one of the first things we talked about in the last topic is that one of the main paradigms we talked about in the last topic is that one thing that sets otaku apart from other kinds of nerds is that otaku operate as if the mainstream world doesn't exist, whereas nerds only operate in relation to the mainstream world. So when you've got people like the Toy Box DX folks who are it's okay to be super into like the.
But it's not okay to upset the established order or some bullshit.
Well, it's like, so it's okay to be into like the robots and the toys and all that because people in the mainstream world can relate to that. Whereas
because they're not having sex in the mainstream world.
Exactly. Well, here's the thing: is that people in the mainstream world can relate to that, but when you get into like the kind of weird fetishy nature of like sexualized anime, it suddenly becomes a lot harder to explain yourself to other people if you're interested in doing that.
But here's the difference: they care about doing that.
That's the exact difference. Is they exist in relation to the mainstream world, whereas otaku,
aka the same people who want their parents not to be disappointed that they like something.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was kind of
or some dumb shit like that.
When I was talking to Josh on the Collection DX, when I did the one show with him, and he was kind of asking, like, what's the sort of Western equivalent for Moe? And the closest thing that I could think of was the sort of the My Little Pony fandom.
Maybe?
Yeah. I
don't think that's a very good fit.
I think that might be the closest, but it's still pretty far.
Well, the difference is, a show like My Little Pony is intended for little girls, but also has an adult male demographic, whereas
that voted for Bush. I'm kidding. I don't know that.
Otaku shows are specifically made for otaku, and that the only other comparison would have been like those magical girl shows in the 80s and 90s that were for little girls, but also had the peripheral demographic of adult males.
Okay, well, here, we got a couple of things here. This makes our fandom look bad. There's that aspect of it, which you got from A&N.
Yep.
Where they pretend to care about, the goodwill of fans. When in the next review they talk about them being creeps that need to be arrested and shit.
It was windowless vans.
Okay, always said in response to fan service stuff in anime, not situations where people get harassed for trivial bullshit and stuff like that. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's the weird thing. This isn't new. That this has been around. This element of it has been there since I've been a fan. It's worse now though. For some reason. I I think it's because there's a distinct disconnect between people who are just into it sort of feet first versus people that sort of want to try to justify it to people they think are their intellectual betters.
Yeah.
And like, you know, they try to sweep the unpleasant elements of it under the rug or stuff they don't like about it.
Yeah, so there's always been this separation between the fan base and the more academic, more critic side of things, especially in the anime.
Yes.
Always been there. You can look back at all the way back to
since
like
the 90s.
Yeah, all the way back to like An America and things like that. I mean,
Or
like it's all
the Helen McCarthy books.
Well, right.
Yeah.
But we already kind of covered that.
Yeah, and it there's always in that side has always been against the more pervy sexual element.
Yeah, I mean,
they're cool with the sexual element when it's done in like a very trying to be realistic, like in.
I know what you're getting at.
So as a result, it has to be awkward kind of way. Does that make sense?
yeah, like Perfect Blue.
I was just thinking.
Or Paranoia Agent.
Like Perfect Blue,
Yeah.
like Paranoia Agent, like.
It can't be for the benefit of the viewer alone.
It can't be for the benefit of the viewer alone, and it can't be for the enjoyment of the characters alone.
And it also can't appeal to men. for obvious reasons.
So-
because that's clearly some sort of evil, you know?
So, and like, otaku thoroughly reject that entire paradigm. And I think that's something unique among most nerd fan bases.
I also think that's why you're seeing so much vitriol right now. Because there's that group of people that we've already mentioned that clearly cannot coexist with people that like this stuff. It's like they don't even want to. They want them to go away. I mean, and it's mutual too at this point.
Oh yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, of course they want you to fucking go away. You're annoying them and ruining their hobby.
No.
Why would they want you there? When you don't keep to yourself, you constantly enter other people's spaces and then try to scream at them. Who the fuck wants that?
You know, I noticed that sort of. If anyone wants to call me out on this, please do. I would love to know. But I think the difference was, again, this is not going to make. I don't want to at all sound sexist at all. But when there was, when the space was more male dominated, and the only, there's certainly female fans in the past, but there was sort of like you gotta hang with the hang type of thing, where it's like, in order to be in the fandom, I'm not gonna complain about this thing type of notion. If that, is that me? Do you know what I'm getting at?
I know what you're getting at. I don't think you're correct though. I think
today it's like, I'm gonna go in my way into this fandom, and now I'll complain about the aspect that's problematic.
See, I don't think it ever came down to a male-female thing. I think and part of it is like.
All right, well, again, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Well, so like, and there are certainly some differences, but like if you look at the attendee makeup of the first Comic-Con, 90% women. If you look in,
I think he's talking about specifically here,
and even going specifically here, if you look at a lot of the more hardcore, the hardcore female anime fans.
Yeah, there was that.
What's the
picture
characterization of the hardcore female anime fans? She fucking love, and like this goes back to like the mid 2000s, back when I was a teenager. Like hardcore female anime fan fucking loves Kurama from Yu Yu Hakusho. Fucking
You showed me that picture, and I think it was like from like the mid 80s, and there was like there were women there. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
I know what I know what you're talking about, but I don't know that I can find the picture.
No, but I'm just saying there was that thing that you showed me.
But so like, and this is a and like it also gets to a point where it's like, if it comes down to a male female thing, what's going on with all the women running around half naked at anime conventions? Like, if the sexual element comes down to a male female thing, and and you also get with that you'd also get the aspect, like, coming through the early mid 2010s, where it's like, oh well, okay, well now we have to start policing this aspect with the cosplay and whatnot, because we've got a bunch of we've discovered that a bunch of people are being predatory, let's make no mistake, toward these women in cosplay. And one thing that and here's why I say, correct me if I'm wrong, one thing that I feel like has happened is you got that paradigm coincided with a lot of people who otherwise wouldn't be in the anime fandom coming into the anime fandom, if that makes sense.
I think that's more like
because here's my thing, and this gets down to like, so now this gets down to sort of dipping into like the interpersonal sexuality element. Here's my thing, is you step up in the anime convention and you see the guy who's wearing like the Idolmaster t-shirt, and he's carrying around a bag with one of those like quarter scale bunny girl figures in it, and he was just at the Faku booth dropping like $200 on hentai manga, and he's stepping up, getting ready in line for the beginner's guide to effed up hentai panel. And you got that guy, and then you got the person who is very outspokenly against a lot of the more niche elements that anime has to deal with. And the question I would ask to you is, what the fuck is that other guy doing at the anime convention? He's sure isn't there buying quarter scale bunny girl figures, because those are problematic.
I mean, I get what you're getting at. I don't actually have a good answer for you that wouldn't involve basically just people out to stir shit.
I think that's the answer, K-Gods. There's some people who are fundamentally out to stir shit and are fundamentally out to shame people who are into these various aspects that they're talking about. But not to get too far off track. Here, I think that I don't. You're going to have a very hard time convincing me that, and this isn't a dig at you, VZ, but I know that other people have made this argument. You're gonna have a very hard time convincing me that the separation between people really appreciating the sexual elements of anime and people really downing on the sexual elements of anime comes down to a gender thing. Because I've met plenty of women, and basically every woman I've met who's hardcore into anime stuff has some level of appreciation, or at least is highly tolerant of the sexual elements of anime.
Again,
because it's something that's it's intrinsic to the medium. Like, you can't go back, like, you'd have to go back several decades to reach an era of anime that didn't have ero anime in it. Like, and I think this is another part that like really just sets the otaku fan base apart, is that we're highly appreciative of the erotic art aspect of what we're into. Like to a point where it's like
we're not ashamed, and of course we're not ashamed by the hentai aspect of.
Yeah, exactly. And
we acknowledge that it's a part of the
well, you have to. It's been around since the 80s. Come
exactly. You kind of have to if you're going to talk about the history of the stuff. And I've seen people try and talk about the history. I've seen this is hilarious. Crunchyroll has this
yes, the history of hentai.
The history of hentai thing on YouTube, and so like the three of us are pretty well versed. You guys are probably actually more well versed in the history than I am, but like we all know what cream lemon is, and we all know that like
Lolita anime was the
Lolita anime. We all know that this stuff is kind of significant, but apparently Crunchyroll doesn't.
It's because it's not licensed also. So
yeah,
they can't talk about it.
Well, fuck that. It's still a part of the history. I was about to say I get it. I actually really don't.
It's
like,
not licensed, and it's the part of the history that's really uncomfortable, which of course is like, why are you then bringing it up anyway?
Why the fuck why is Crunchyroll talking about hentai? And I know why it is, as a matter of fact. So like, there's this part of the subculture, and it's starting to really bother me, as a matter of fact. Is part of the subculture that's appreciative of hentai, but they're very, very, very tongue-in-cheek about it and never actually like straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I gotta say, like,
I know what you're saying.
One of the best con experiences I've had was Anime Boston several years ago, and
not the one where the where the fucking rave basically got it almost shut down.
Not that one. I think it was the one before that, as a matter of fact. But Anime Boston several years ago, and we're all going to the Faku panel. I think this was the first time they ran the Faku panel. And like after that, a whole bunch of us went out to the fucking Cheesecake Factory and sat down and talked, like chatted.
The Cheesecake Factory. That alone. Everything about that just sounds just wonderfully fitting.
Yeah, it was great. A whole bunch of people from the anime porn website community got together and like just all had a good time. I fucking had a at-length conversation with Jacob. It was great. And the thing is
oh, but I gotta like, bring this up from Burgermeister. Old guard, as in the types that older anime wasn't like this when it comes to fan service. I love that.
That's rose-colored glasses right there.
Rose-fucking colored glasses. It's the same thing with the proto-moe shit. But it's like, here's my thing is, it's like that guy from, as a matter of fact, from Toy Box DX was like, oh, well, we don't have to be nerds. We can talk about football and stuff. And the thing is, he's right. But he's coming from a frame of, we don't have to be nerds. I don't want to make a big deal out of the fact that I like this shit, and I'm very how to put this. I really want to seem like I'm a normal dude. Like I really want to seem like, and I hate using this word, but I really want to seem like a normie, and I want to feel like a normie with all these other people. So we should force this conversation about like normie shit.
Yeah,
When in reality, what really happens is when you're at the anime convention and when you're around people you fucking vibe with, when you're around the Faku community and you're part of the Faku community and all this stuff, you just realize you're all normal people, and you can make some connections with people off of that. That's the whole fucking thing with it's becoming very, very clear to me very, very quickly that like identity, quote unquote, is fucking destructive. And when you when you can get together with anime fans, you can get together at the anime convention and whatnot, and what really happens, and this is I think it was Wombat brought this up a while ago. I think it might have been our first or second show with him.
Okay.
Brought this up a while ago. That the anime fandom does not exist. Like we talk about the anime fandom like it's this like amalgam, like it's this big thing that like moves in one direction and is like it's organized. It's
like they're fans of Sting or some shit.
Yeah, and it's really not. You go to the anime convention, literally the only thing you have in common with any given person at that anime convention is that you both like anime, and maybe not even that. So what happens is people end up with this conception of the anime fandom, and they get kind of disillusioned with when they meet someone that they don't vibe with in the anime fandom, and they don't realize that what you really need to do in the anime fandom is find people that you have more than one thing in common with.
Right.
And so when you end up at the Hendane booth, you form a small community there because you all know that number one, you all like anime, and number two, you like doujinshi. So
right.
you can start forming connections there. When you're at the Faku dinner at the Cheesecake Factory, number one, you all know you like anime. Number two, you all know you like hentai. So you can start vibing off of that because you know that you have more than two things in common.
I got a perfect example that I can kind of sort of extrapolate onto another sci-fi related thing. Okay, perfect example is there's this misconception. I'm sort of just kind of recovering old ground for a second here. That I like anime, you like anime, we're friends. That's not really true.
Yeah, not fucking friends.
I'm sorry to tell you, there's not this brotherhood of anime shit. It's not real. It doesn't work like that. It's sort of like, hey, I'm a sci-fi fan, you're a sci-fi fan. But have you ever seen Trekkies and Star Wars fans that hate each other?
Yeah, they're not allies.
No, in fact, some of them literally do hate each other. It's not even just like a playful thing. They don't like them. And it's sort of like that, but instead of an actual franchise, it's an entire medium. In that, if you go somewhere and somebody says they like Akira, but you're coming up to bat with you like High School of the Dead.
Yeah.
There's not necessarily a whole lot of crossover there.
Yeah, unless you can find something you two have, something other than that, you two have nothing in common.
And again, I'm just picking those two randomly out of my ass, so. I mean, insert things here.
But it's like people get this idea that they're supposed to be able to vibe with anyone who's into anime, and that's not the case. And
no.
To get it back to the horny aspect, it's like.
Speaking of vibing,
you don't need to be fucking friends with every anime fan. You don't need to be.
I suggest you not.
I really suggest you not be friends.
No.
Some of these people are fucking trash people. But
I mean, trying to defend some of the behavior some of these people engage in is not something you want to do.
No.
But like if the horny aspect doesn't appeal to you, you don't have to involve yourself with any of those people. The problem comes in when people try to police other people's behavior to make the anime fandom like the homogenous thing that they were disillusioned about it not being. And that's when it gets down to a real problem. That's when we get the harassment.
Stop being stereotypical.
That's when we get
like,
that one bitch from Anime Expo, that one volunteer who got that one artist banned and tried. Last they heard, that's what was heard from them. They're trying to get Faku banned.
I bet that's gonna work.
Till they mysteriously resigned.
Yeah,
100% totally of their own accord. But that's the whole thing, is that the magical thing about
I'm
anime
blaming Hillary.
magical thing about anime is that all this stuff can exist and you get to pick and choose.
Right. And that includes people.
Yeah.
Curate your people.
Fucking please. Gatekeep your inner circles and gatekeep your sub communities.
Otherwise, you end up with fucking people riding coattails and preying on people like fucking Hazakari.
Yeah.
But because they have the right politics,
because they have they have all the right opinions, because they think all the right things are problematic.
they say all the right things and nod to the right people.
Yeah, they're permitted to.
But we know the Western anime, both journalism and the industry is kind of a circle jerk, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, but that's true of gaming and all kinds of other shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of nepotism and whatnot going on.
Oh, cronyism, like all the way.
Yeah, and that's a big problem. But what it comes down to on like a fan level is, if your stuff is important enough to you that you want to share it with other people, it should also be important enough to you to insulate it against bad actors, against fundamentally abusive people who will try and use it to advance their personal end games at your expense while harming you and your friends.
That was the time I told you I was at this. One time I was at a con in the Jacob. What's the one? The Jacob Javits Center.
Mm-hmm.
And I met people from Toy Box DX, and they were like, I was telling them, I'm not a creep. But then, like, okay, we'll see. But then, mind you, they were at the Kotobukiya booth. So, but then I was like talking about, I was just, kind of joking. Maybe a wrong choice. But I was just saying, I know some Japanese. I was like, I know Paizuri and Opai, and
yeah, that probably
like,
was the smartest thing to do.
Yeah, but you know what? It's still really they should have not.
Think about what you're asking of these people.
I don't know, and maybe I'm jumping the gun. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I haven't observed enough behavior, but I don't find very often that it's the like real big into hentai people who are actually creeping on women.
No, it's the male allies.
I don't find that.
Yes,
I don't find that that's the case very often.
It almost always is. In fact,
like that,
a lot of and what's funny about that is some of them are actually part of that whole not into 3D thing. So there's that element too, which is weird to me, but I it's hard to put them in the same category. Because it's like, well, they're not even interested in that. Or at least they claim they're not.
So it's like... So... And here I go making another comparison that, again, maybe I haven't observed enough behavior. But I've definitely heard enough things through various channels, through various research. And... So maybe the only Hornier community out here is the furry community. and not in a good way.
We got to give them props. If props might not be the right word. Actually, it's probably not. But okay, if you have testing centers at your con for like venereal diseases and shit, yeah, you're probably pretty horny there.
So I mean, yeah. So it's like, it's basically saying, oh, yeah, listen, we know that people are coming to, not necessarily coming to the convention, but we know a lot of people are fucking in this hotel room, and
I can hear them.
And it's like people fuck at anime conventions too.
Yeah,
but
they don't. They only do so in cosplay and not in fur.
Well,
coming soon, the Anubis. Outside of COVID,
what's the difference between dressing up like a sailor Senshi versus being in a full dog costume?
Dressing up like
no, but I'm saying Anubis should launch. You should launch your own crew anime con cruise.
Then fuck Anime Con cruise. I don't think anyone's launching a cruise line anytime soon.
Well,
I
yeah,
think that's.
I
think that industry is kind of not gonna. Industry's not doing very well. But so like. Well, so
yeah,
we all
dress in your persona and get COVID.
So we all understand that the furry community is very, very highly sexualized to the point where it sort of plays into that identity.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, we all understand that people fuck at anime conventions, but you don't hear about it nearly as often as the furry community.
No, you might hear them if you're nearby or going down the hall.
Yeah, you might hear them, and like we know what happens. Like we're not talking about it all the time.
Did they try to act like hentai?
Hope not.
I fucking hope not. Or if they do,
can you imagine English dialogue like that?
But if they do, I hope it works out for them.
Yeah, and just like random orc noises or some shit, troll sounds.
But so I feel like if we're gonna compare the two horniest communities, I feel like the anime community is healthier about it, at least.
Well, last I heard, they don't have HIV testing centers.
Yeah, we're not.
Yikes.
No need for HIV testing centers at the anime convention.
Although, as soon as they show up at Expo or something, I am going to be suspicious.
Pulling the ejector ring on that, fucking punching out. Peace.
Especially in California, since you don't have to actually register as having that.
Oh, Jesus Christ! I didn't even think about that. I'm not fucking.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking at anime conventions anyway. By the way, so I don't even know why I'm concerned. But
it's still an alarming concept, really, if you think about it.
It's kind of wild.
It's weird to think that and it was a guy who was able to pull that off. There was some guy bragging about that he got it to where like you don't have to tell people you have it, and it's like But that's not going to end well.
But so I think that the expression of sexuality is definitely healthier in the anime subculture if we're comparing the two horniest subcultures.
Insert jokes here about how so much horny and so little procreation.
I mean, hey. And so
just a dramatic pause. like we got to sit down by one of those Zen gardens and think about it for a little bit.
But it's like, so we.
Yeah, Abe just stares at you. Breed. Why aren't you breeding?
Yeah, just like subtle pulls and ploys.
No,
anyway.
He just sits down at the desk while you're using a condom, and he's like, "Why aren't you breeding?" He just has his arms crossed.
But so like the appreciation for art aspect, the appreciation for the human body aspect as far as cosplay goes. But
that's another thing you brought up earlier. The wanting to know the history aspect of hentai anime, also, and like the arrow anime aspect.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you know what? There's stuff that's like just not documented very well.
Oh, yeah, much like a lot of anime, just in general. There's stuff that basically lost to time, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it is
Lost in the pants of time.
It's at its core, it's an appreciation for art, and at its core, it's an appreciation for like, I don't know, man, like the way Mogudon draws Rei Ayanami.
Yeah, I mean, you could clearly tell he has this bizarro obsession with her, but
Oh right,
Yeah, and it's like,
which is
it's
so
like-
outside the way she looks normally. Which
Yeah,
is,
and yet it somehow works. I don't know what it is. It's like this weird. Maybe it's because she's supposed to be sort of again, not getting it too spoiler. Maybe it's because she's supposed to be sort of a hollowed out husk a bit.
yeah, well, that's kind of like the whole basis of the entire subplot going through that series of doujinshi, but it's
Like I don't
Like,
think that would work if you did that to Asuka.
no, but it's like you there's a level on which you can appreciate that artistically without it being jerk off material,
Though it very much is.
though. Well, 100%. But
That's not LCL.
but I feel like the anime, like when you talk about the otaku subculture, that's a big element of it. Is like there's definitely a prurient aspect to the appreciation of the ecchi anime and the ero anime and the ero manga and all that, but there's also an artistic appreciation aspect to it. So like you'll get all these different artists with all these different art styles, and you'll pick one whose art style you like. So like it's not just random. It's not just you're looking for something to satisfy you real quick. It's where you.
Why did you all be watching Queen Bee?
Yeah, exactly. But you're looking for something that's well made, high quality, something that appeals to you on like a subject matter level, and something that you like visually.
Mm-hmm. Right, and then you've got stuff like, then you get things like circles and
Yeah, exactly.
and, like collaboration kind of stuff or what have you.
And then not only that, but looking from the creative aspect of it, there's this cycle that goes on in the Japanese side of things where a mangaka will like up and coming out of Comiket. And then they'll break into the manga industry and they'll create a highly popular manga. And that's gonna get the anime, and that's gonna get the figures, and it's gonna get a whole lot of fans, some of whom become artists in a circle at Comiket making doujinshi of that work. And then some of those people will go on to break into the manga industry and make the next big hit that gets all the doujinshi next cycle.
Right. I mean, like, it's almost impossible to catalog how many people, like, if you were to, that made famous manga or anime, that you could go back and see that they worked on porn somewhere.
Yeah, like, so, like, there's this whole independent aspect of it. And at its core, it's really just art and artist appreciation.
And it's also somewhat of a feedback loop.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like, and the thing is, what's interesting about that is it's one that doesn't really break off in the sense that even shows that are old and not really having things being done, like I don't know, Sailor Moon or Evangelion for
Yep.
popular ones. I mean, like, is there ever a comic market that comes by where there's not shit tons of doujinshi of those?
Yeah, man. It's if you can manage to make a hit, it will, like, and like especially a big hit, something that has some longevity to it. It'll continue to produce new doujin works, which will
Then we
which
get brilliant stuff like Black Time.
which means that more artists are gonna have their chance to come into the industry, and I feel like, maybe not consciously, but I feel like the Western otaku fan base appreciates that. Like they know that goes on, maybe subconsciously, and they appreciate that's sort of the cycle. That the people who make pervy art are just as legitimate as the people who make your regular ass anime.
For sure. Read interviews with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Most of them are, a lot of them are just shy, quiet types that just, like, I don't know, it's just what they like to do.
Well, it's like the Western otaku fan base has. I'm not sure if connection is the right word, but they have this level of appreciation where they don't, like, pervy artists, like ero manga artists, they're not different. They're not on a different level, like higher or lower than any other kind of artist.
Unless, of course, you work for certain publications, then you probably would have a bone to pick with that statement.
Well, of course, but like those people's end games are different. But like when you're like at the group of Faku people, or you're at the Hendane booth. Like, and this is something I talk about with Moe, is that it's personal but shareable. So like you have like, I really like Kisuragi Gunma, an ero manga artist, and someone else might like another artist, but we can understand each other's appreciation for whatever artist we like. And none of it is seen as illegitimate because it's porn. That's a problem I have with a lot of the non-otaku fan base within the anime subcultures. Like, I have a problem with the view that there's no value to sexually charged media besides being sexually charged. And I think that's I think that's one big disconnect between otaku and regular ass fans who kind of follow the industry, the journalistic side.
Yeah. Again, like I said, it's very fascinating to find out, like, the history, and it's like also finding out, like, the people who worked on the stuff is actually people who went on to do other stuff. Like, since we were brought up Cream Lemon before, that sex scene in the episode Pop Chaser, right? You know who did that, right?
Not offhand.
Hideaki Anno.
Yeah, exactly. So like, you've got that aspect, and then you also have this other aspect where,
and it definitely shows because it's like one of the best in Cream Lemon.
But you also have this other aspect where you have all these people who will write off Kodomo no Jikan as just because it has a sexually charged element to it. Oh, it's pure garbage. Whereas literally anyone who's given Kodomo no Jikan a fair shake is like, well, okay, there's something very, very, very significant going on in this manga, in this anime, that has nothing to do with how sexually charged it is.
Yes, you're not it's called 7 C's being strong-armed. No.
Yeah, but you're not going to hear that from the people whose frame is anything that's sexually charged has no value other than purely that.
There's also this element of people that seem to just want to nip at it because other people like it. And I got a little bit of proof of this. Speaking of Kodomo no Jikan, when it got funded, very fast, mind you.
Oh, yeah. Which shows that people want it.
Yeah. Lots of people fucking wigged out. People that otherwise would not give a shit about this thing were mad because it got funded. They were never interested in it and were never going to buy it, obviously. But because people that wanted it are going to get it, they're mad. But why is that?
This thing exists. I must destroy it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, this thing exists. It must be. It must be, branded.
So I feel like part of it comes down to that paradigm that it was that Burgermeister mentioned earlier, is that this makes our fandom look bad. If this Kodomo no Jikan thing were to fall into the wrong hands, if the wrong person were to see this.
Well, that's true about fucking anything.
Exactly.
I mean, there's literally things you could pull out of things that aren't even porn that you could get all kinds of weird shit going on with.
And the problem is that the people who complain about this stuff have no desire and have no ability to
expand on, yeah.
Well, not that, but to put it into context for people who might be uninitiated.
Right. They just want to, we got to get rid of this thing.
They want to make anime very, very easy for outsiders to not throw.
They want to make it palatable.
Bingo.
But the problem with that is that that's fundamentally having to change it.
Anime is fundamentally not palatable to people who are
divorced from its context.
Exactly. Yeah, people who are closed-minded enough to not want more context before passing judgment on it.
And it wasn't aimed at them to begin with.
And here's my thing. Back in the day, when I was president of the anime club, and this is part. I wrote an article back in the day for Iyashike and reposted it a few months ago on Otaku Entrepreneur, the secret guide to running an anime club. And one of the things I said there is that, listen, the anime club president, to a lesser extent, its leadership, but definitely the president, has got to be the most based guy there, the most not give a fuck guy there, the most all about the medium guy there, to be able to put it into context for outsiders. Because if a person from the faculty or the school administration walks into the anime club meeting and something weird is on the screen, the president's going to have to be able to put that into context for someone who's 100% uninitiated. And he has to be willing to do that, has to be able to do that, and has to not have any prejudice as to what kind of anime, if someone walks, if we're playing Strike Witches on the TV and someone walks in, the president has to be willing and able to defend Strike Witches. And I 100% adamantly believe that.
I don't envy them though.
And not a knock on you, but some people aren't cut out to be anime club presidents. I truly believe that.
Because that's going to be a real pain in the ass.
Here's my thing. I don't think it is. You just need to grow and again, not a knock on you. I'm talking to aspiring anime club presidents. You need to grow a fucking spine and be willing to stand up and say, listen, this is legitimate. You have to understand the history, and you have to understand the artistic elements. You have to be able to put that into context for people. But this is no place for cowardice. This is okay, World War One. The homeboy blew the whistle. We gotta get out. We gotta jump out this trench and start charging at the machine guns. So okay, school president walks in. Strike witches is on the thing. You have to be able to explain strike witches. Go. And if you're not willing to do that, you're not fucking cut out to be an anime club president. And quite frankly, I don't think if you're not willing to do that, I don't think you're cut out to be in a position of influence in the anime subculture. People at ANN.
Again, but
hey, that's just me being, unrepentantly about this medium as it exists rather than as I would want it to exist. There's plenty of anime that I don't like. I don't fucking watch any of that anime is what I do with it.
Right? And
imagine that. Don't care about it, don't watch it.
Well, right, but there's a certain level of busybodying going around. You know what I mean?
Yep, and it has no place in the anime subculture.
In any fandom, really. That level of trying to basically, what it is they're trying to purify the subculture.
Yeah, and number one is not going to fucking work
because the main reason it won't work is because the source material isn't that.
The source material isn't that, and you've also got a whole bunch of people who are ready, willing, and able to spend hundreds of dollars on cute anime girl shit, and none of those people can match that kind of consumer activity in their own sectors. Not a one of them.
See, I envy the people that are able to actually afford that $300 plus passion lip figure. It's like, I don't think they're losers. I think they're awesome.
I think they have money.
Yeah.
They got some fucking money.
Or at least they have it when they bought that.
Yeah, exactly. They used to have money. Now they do not anymore.
They might be skipping meals or something for all I know.
But yeah, that what it really comes down to me, and I think we'll close out on this, is there's a level of, number one is there's a level of not give a fuck, existing as if the mainstream culture doesn't exist. And there's also a level of like being so engaged with it and so passionate with what you're into that you're ready, willing, and able to put it into context for someone if they're willing to listen to you. And if they're not willing to listen to you, that's where the don't give a fuck aspect comes in.
Yeah, I mean, again, this will be my last bit here. Anime is becoming, to me, in the greater picture, a lot like video games are to me now, which are, I like what I like, I engage with that, I talk to people that I know I can, and beyond that, I just don't care.
Honestly, I feel like that would be a healthier approach for a lot of people. Because
it's like, I'm not interested in making a bunch of new friends and shit. I mean, fuck that, especially right now where when everything you do is wrong somehow. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous.
It's like the greater anime subculture doesn't really exist. And like, it's like when I talk about fandom, like fandom culture, like I talked about this last episode, it's like fandom culture. Well, what do they have in common? That they're fans of things? That's having nothing in common. And anime subculture is almost exactly the same, except you both like this massive medium that's been around for most of this century.
Right.
VZ, you got any final thoughts?
No, just pretty much
like porn. No.
Yeah.
That's my final thought.
Titties. No,
that is all.
Yeah.
In that case, that's the show. The email address is ntrradio@gmail.com. The website is ntrradio.net. VZ stuff is at vzmk2 moimekagatai.wordpress.com. His book is the Big Book of Idols.com. I have yashike.moe, otakuentrepreneur.com. Check out the Bakugaijin Show. Check out Otaku Midnight. Check out Asobi FM. Check out the Geeky Panda stuff at thegeekypanda.net. I am at TAnubis on Twitter. VZ is at VZMK2 on Twitter. The show is at NTR_radio on Twitter. I'm Tom Force Anubis.
I'm K-Gods.
I'm VZ Mark II.
And even though we join the crowd of people around the Hendene booth every time we say it, this is NTR.